Do we need to go to church? God's chosen have always walked a narrow path that few understand. The chosen are those who hear the whisper in the wilderness, who meet him in the quiet, and who walk with him when no one else will. God meets us where we are, often in the raw, unpolished places of life. Moses didn't hear God's voice inside a church. And it was there in the stillness that God whispered to him. Elijah didn't need a church to hear God. And what about John the Baptist? Something in his voice carried the echo of heaven. The true church is not a building, but a people. It's made of people, living, breathing, spirit-filled people. God's chosen know this truth deep in their bones, that no matter where they are, in a prison cell, a hospital room, a quiet living room, they are the church. They carry his presence. They are his house. They are his body. And when they walk, he walks. When they speak, he speaks. Jesus rejected the religious system of his day. He confronted corruption, exposed hypocrisy, and stood toe-to-toe with the religious elite who thought they owned access to God. Jesus didn't fit in with the temple system. When he walked into the temple courts and saw merchants turning sacred ground into a marketplace, he didn't offer a polite sermon. He flipped their tables. He drove them out with a whip because they had turned his Father's house into a den of thieves. The Holy Spirit teaches God's chosen directly. Those who are truly chosen by God are not ultimately shaped by sermons, seminars, or religious education. They are taught by the Holy Spirit. For those set apart by God, the voice that guides them is divine, not institutional. The early disciples didn't graduate from religious schools. Jeremiah was called to speak God's words to a nation drowning in idolatry. But it wasn't the pagans who beat him and threw him into a pit. It was the priests and false prophets. They hated his message because it cut through their comfortable lie. His very presence exposed their powerless religion, and they would rather kill the truth than lose their influence. He simply told the truth, and yet he was stoned to death by a mob stirred up by religious leaders. Moses spent 40 years in a desert before he ever stood before Pharaoh. David, though anointed king as a young man, was chased into caves in exile, alone, and hunted before wearing a crown. Elijah fled to the wilderness after calling down fire from heaven, where he wrestled with despair and learned to hear God's whisper. Even Jesus, though perfect and divine, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days. They worship in their closets, weep in the night, and walk with God when the path is dark. They just need Him. They are led by the Spirit, grounded in truth and sealed with fire. And no matter how small their number, they are mighty in God. They are the temple. They are the church. You're not disobedient. You're not forsaking God. You're following Him. You don't need a sanctuary to be holy. You are His chosen, and you were never meant to belong to a building. You were born to belong to Him.